for his comments. We have a unique situation in Alaska. We have a railroad that is 50 years old and actually older. McKinley came up and drove the Golden Spike, and it is still the major means of transportation within the state of Alaska. And we're not asking to destroy historical sites. In fact, a lot of the sites in Alaskan Railroad have already been identified and are protected under my amendment. And it's extremely important that this railroad still function on time, because we can't do the work we need to do because we have different weather patterns, much like Minnesota, and we have to have the ability to do so. And we have a concern that there are those within the historical preservation group that will utilize this to imperil the ability for the Alaskan Railroad to operate. And that's the purpose of my amendment. And I truly believe that we ought to expand it like we did in the highway bill to a point where there cannot be an impediment to improve the safety of passengers and freight that are utilizing the railroad. And as I mentioned before, the railroad has been very good under the leadership and the tutelage of the managers, the board itself, of protecting. But it would be very nearly impossible to go through if some person under the present act itself on historical preservation was to say, oh, they haven't taken consideration the replacement of glass with the original type glass in a certain terminal. That would be, to me, an extension of not logic, but that does happen in our day society. So I'm asking you, especially this committee, to look at the railroad in total. It is declared historical. If it does happen, and the effect upon the economy of Alaska, the ability to move product, the ability to move military to and fro from our port, and the safety of those that ride the train. And so I do think there's room here to work this out, but I don't want one law to take and impede another agency that's trying to do what they should do for the good of the state of Alaska and this nation. I originally intended to have just this Alaska in this program, and not all railroads, but I think all railroads do have a problem. But I'm not going to go that far if I can have some relief in Alaska for this railroad, which is crucial to the economy of the state. And so I do think there's some room here. I'll listen to the testimony from these witnesses, and let's solve a problem that can be very damaging to the state of Alaska. With that, I yield back the balance. The individual on the SHPO board, that we have another historical area in the state that's being proposed to be adversely affected, and it seemed to me that there was an indication that there had been some transfer of dollars into the state program. There may not be as much of an objection. That goes back to there should be somewhere along the line, people have a right to appeal outside of those interested in that issue. See, I'm one who believes in protecting historical things, but when I have a railroad, it has to move all my troops and move my gravel and move my fossil fuels and move my food and move everything, the only real form of rail transportation. I don't want to see another agency within the federal government that's been codified by the Congress say, oh, no, you can't do that, but maybe we'll help you out. I don't think that's fair. I think there ought to be a way that there is an outside source that's all right, this is not going to hurt the historical aspects of it. It's not going to change the railroad adversely historically. And maybe we ought to go forth with it. I don't see who they appeal to. I don't know. I'm going to ask my counsel to look into this, because I think that's crucially important in this process, that we know that there is somebody that can make that decision outside of historians. Why should the historians, when you want to do something, have the right to say no and stop the process of your rail from running? That's the thing I don't quite understand. Anyone of the historians want to comment on that? Mr. Fowler, can you do that?
No, sir.
You can't do that. You have not done that, and no one else has done it.
If I'm